Cultivating Authentic Universal Energy podcast. Join us, Lisa, Miliaresis, and Michele Belcastro, as we dive into the vibrant world of energy, intuition, and spirit. Our journey through mediumship, psychic insights, Reiki, and the magic of crystals is not just about exploring the unseen. It's about connecting deeply with the universe and ourselves. Lisa is a seasoned medium and author, and she brings the wisdom of her books, being light-driven and spiritual guidance, trusting the voice within, to life. She teaches us to embrace our intuition safely and joyfully. Michele, a sensitive intuitive, and the soul behind the Violet Butterfly Metaphysical Healing Center, shares her journey from her spiritual awakening to creating a sanctuary for others to discover and nurture their spiritual gifts. Together, we're more than just co-hosts. We're guides on this adventure into universal energy, sharing our experiences and the transformative power it holds. We are thrilled to invite you to our first ever CARE retreat in Safety Harbor, Florida, this April from the 19th to the 21st. If you'd like to dive deeper with us, you can visit Lisa at tocommunicate.net and Michele at thevioletbutterflymhc.com. Let's embrace the energy together.
Hello there, Michele.
Hey, Lisa.
So we decided that today's topic is going to be finding our lost items, because how many times have we lost something that we just had on our fingertips, or it's been there in the house for a while and then all of a sudden you lost it. And we can tap into our intuition to find these things. So we were just had this conversation, and you were just telling me a little bit about one of the things that happened to you this past weekend.
Yeah. So in the process of moving, we have a tendency to lose things. So with having some help closing up the shop, some people were helping me pack boxes. One of the things that I brought home from the shop was a butcher block table that a dear friend let me have. And I was like, ooh, that's going to be perfect. I know exactly where I'm going to put it, but it was real. The wood is super dry. So I decided to get some wood conditioner. And I tried using it while I was at the shop one day just to see, what the difference was. I thought I had brought it home, and I scoured the house over the weekend. My husband helped me scour the house over the weekend. We couldn't find it. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy another one, knowing, that typically when I do stuff like this, I'm going to buy the second one. And as soon as I buy it, I'll find the first one.
Always how it happens, right?
But I did it anyway, because whatever, right? It's easy to take things or return things on Amazon. So um, I was walking through the house on the day that the new one was supposed to arrive. And all of a sudden, I knew exactly where to find this stuff. I knew what box in my garage. Now, I'm telling you, my garage is half full of stuff from the shop, mostly in boxes that are labeled, but this one I didn't pack, so it didn't get labeled. I went to the box, I opened the box, and there it was. Is like,
Yeah, there it
someone
is.
told me, someone told me exactly where to find it. And my guides are amazing with stuff like that. But that's been a progressive thing. Like, I didn't used to know that like that. I
Well, and,
haven't
and
always
that's
been
a
able to
perfect
do it.
thing to share with our audience, is that, yeah, we all have guidance within us, and we can tap into that to help us in these situations where you just feel lost. Like, oh my God, where to put my keys? Where to put my glasses? All those things.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you're losing your mind, right? And then the idea for me is it's always in a moment of quiet when my mind is not racing on something else,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer will come.
Yes, and that even holds true not just for items, but like if you're working on a project. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I'm trying to figure out something technical, or back in the day, I was doing a little mild like Excel programming and trying to figure something out that it wasn't written on how to do it. So I find if I just take a step back and I ask spirit and I just take a break, if you will, or like you said, go rest somewhere and or meditate or even just take a quick nap. When you wake up or when you come back to the table, you have an additional clarity that you didn't have before. You just sometimes have to step away and listen and see what comes through.
Yep.
So I've lost things that I didn't think I would ever find, but I think it's also important to stay positive when those things happen. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in Greece many years back, I had worn the night before we had gone out a pair of diamond earrings that I received from my grandmother. It was hers. So they were very meaningful to me, but I forgot to take them off at night when I got home. And then the next day I was with the children out at the water and they went on a banana boat ride. So I went with them. So the banana boat ride, if you see it's rubber and it has a place where you put your feet, excuse
Yep.
me, and where you put your feet, it has a little crease in between there and there. So it's like all inclusive. But every time they went out into the water, they would flip over a couple times back out into the Mediterranean. Now we went on like at 10 in the morning. Around lunchtime, I come back and I notice that I'm missing an earring, one earring.
Mm.
So upset, went to look everywhere for it. And I just had the gut feeling that I'm going to find it. I don't know how I'm going to find it, but I'm going to find it. So 4 o'clock in the afternoon comes and we see a family that we know. They're walking towards the beach to go to the banana boat ride. And the woman had beautiful diamond earrings on. And I said, you know what? You might not want to do that because I lost one of mine and I think I may have lost it on the banana boat ride. And she looked at very intent and her kids were with her and they had that conversation. We went off and they, about 2 hours later, they come back and the little boy goes, look what I found. And he found my diamond earring. It had been going out all day long, flipping and flipping. It was in that crease that I spoke about. And the fact that we had the conversation before they had gone off to the ride
Mhm.
made him look down, and that's when he found it. So
Wow.
I just think that, that you just have to have a positive attitude and check in with that intuition at the same time, and then you're golden.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because I've been on one of those banana ride things in the Bahamas, and that was a wild, wild ride.
Yeah, they take you fast, they flip you over, and it was going all day long. So I told my grandmother this, that she was alive at the time, and I said, I'm so glad I found the earrings that you gave me. And she goes, "You're very careless with your things." Not that it was, that's amazing that you found it. You're very careless with your things. You need to be more careful.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, that's possible. True.
Oh, it's
So you
funny.
were also sharing with me some other things that you found as
Oh,
far as.
gosh. So, most of you guys know that I have a special relationship with horses. And one of the things that's always a challenge with having horses is losing horseshoes. And when it comes to bills to pay for horses, you don't want to have to recreate horseshoes if you can find a lost one. So I, now back then, I wasn't nearly as in tune with my knowingness as I am now. So I used to use muscle testing. So I would look at a field and I would basically divide it into quadrants and I would muscle test my body to see which quadrant I should search in because some of the fields were a half an acre or an acre. In the grand scheme of things, it's not like huge, but when you're going all afternoon, which I've spent like afternoons trying to find horseshoes, um, to have it narrowed down to a sector or quadrant is super helpful. I was able to find a majority of my lost shoes and not
That's
have to
awesome.
call the farrier and be like, hey, I need you to make another whole new one.
So can you explain what muscle testing is? Because it sounds to me, if I understand it, because maybe I do it and I just don't know I do it.
Mhm.
It's like noticing where you're being drawn.
So, um, think of it more like using your body as a human pendulum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your body has a wisdom that knows how to talk when sometimes we don't know how to interpret things, right? So a lot of times with like natural practitioners, they will do muscle testing on a person to see what kind of supplements are agreeable with the body. You can do
Right.
that with food. Um, and it's, if you've ever been had this happen, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But most of the time, they'll ask you to put your arm out and hold strong, and they'll just put pressure on your arm. So if you are strong with something, then that's something that's agreeable. It's a yes to your body. If you're weak, then it's not agreeable to your body. So obviously, it's really hard.
I see your kitty in the back.
um,
She did a beautiful stretch.
yeah. Um, it's really hard to go out to a field and be like, okay, here or there. So I don't do it that way. You can do it with your fingers. And so, like with your thumb and your ring finger is like your weakest finger,
Oh, I see.
basically.
Yeah.
So you would take these two fingers of your opposite hand. So you're okay. The circle goes in your non-dominant hand, right? So the idea is that um, you're not trying to stop what's happening. You're just trying to use your body the smartest. Okay, so you take your pointer and your thumb of the other hand, and you're going to insert it into the ring. Yep. So with your body, you can say, all right, show me yes, show me strong. So you're going to try to pull that apart. So strong, so you're going to go like this with these fingers.
Right. Right. So
All right.
strong.
So strong, there's no movement.
Right.
Weak, okay, show me weak or no, you'll get a separation. No, you're going to separate these two right here.
Okay. That's
All
what you're,
right.
yeah. Okay. So
Yep.
you're separating the thumb, the one that's making the circle, the thumb
Yep.
and the
Yep.
pinky.
Exactly. So strong, you're not say making that separation.
Okay.
Weak, they'll come apart some amount.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. So that just goes to prove there's so many ways to check and tune in with your intuition.
Absolutely. And see, years ago, I was introduced to muscle testing when I got into herbology, and it was associated with a multi level marketing company that has a very, very good reputation. But I knew enough to trust my body. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know enough at that point in time to like be able to mentally assess what I really needed. Right? I didn't have that knowledge, but I knew my body did.
Sure.
So that's, one of the ways I guess the main way that I was even introduced into muscle testing.
Well, I think that's awesome. So then, and thanks for sharing that. I think that'll be good for our audience to know because anybody can do that. And,
Mm-hmm.
how many times are you in need to find something somewhere?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've had my granddaughter call me up once. Grandma, I lost XYZ in my room. I think it's in my room. I'm not sure if it's in my room or if it's in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of go through the imagery in my mind. And I say, it's almost like you're playing the game hot or cold, if I'm hot or if I'm cold, and you get a little nudge. And I
Yep.
say, okay, I think it's over here. I think it's in the closet. Look in the bottom of the closet. And, then typically we find it. It's like,
Nice.
yeah, but you can do that. And I think it's a different way of what you explained. It's
Oh,
just honing into your intuition, like
yep.
shopping with spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I know we're talking about lost things, but these are all tools, maybe even to help us make better decisions.
Oh yeah. Well,
I
yes, connecting with your spirit guides and your intuition is is golden.
Yeah. I mean, I use the same kind of tools when I go to a restaurant and I'm trying to pick what to eat off a menu. I
Good.
do.
Yeah.
Like almost every time, like, okay, body, is this going to be better for you today, or is that better for you today? Or is there something completely different that I'm not seeing?
So I can give you a little game that you can play with your intuition.
Okay.
Um, my husband likes to watch game shows.
Okay.
So a lot of times, and he watches them in Greek, so I don't always understand the language. So I understand enough Greek to watch some of the TV shows, but I'm not saying you don't have to do it in a different language. But let's just say it's something like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where they're asking you all these questions, right? You can kind of look at the answers and not look at the question and say A, B, C, or D and see which one you're going to go with out of instinct, not necessarily reading the question and knowing the answer. And that's a good way to test your, or get a dialogue with your intuition to find your answers. What is a yes and what is a no? And just playing along, any of those games, and just, playing with your intuition and say, okay, which one looks like it's calling to me? And actually, I've played with that at a roulette table, but that's a different story. Doesn't always work. You
Uh, that would be
look at the table and
interesting
you see
to,
what numbers jump to you.
yeah. Well, it'd be really interesting to like dive a little bit deeper into that at some point, into maybe why that doesn't work, as opposed to things working, our guidance working in other
I have
scenarios.
theories on that. And my theory is that it's, we are very all intuitive, but we filter it with our belief systems. So your interpretations are filtered by your belief systems. So if you have a belief that you shouldn't be doing that, that's what's going to filter it,
Oh.
you know?
Hmm.
So preset limitations, things that we grew up with, things that, what was the word, domestications, things that we're domesticated with,
Yep.
these beliefs that get into our and stuck and ingrained into our system. So sometimes you have something going on in your life and you're feeling either anxious or you're feeling a little something going on. Usually it's an indication that whatever your experience goes against a certain belief that you have.
Sure.
So you explore it. But in exploring everything, we're exploring today, finding lost items and
Yeah.
and being able to find them through intuition.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
So, how do you find your keys when you can't find your keys, Lisa?
Well, my rationale is to, of course, follow the steps that I took, but sometimes that doesn't work out. So I'll quiet my mind and I'll ask what room, or if they're in the car, or if they're there. And they 9 times out of 10, it's going to come to me. Um, but also, even when you're at work and you're looking for a file you can't find,
Uh-huh.
there's been times I've tried that, and there's been times I've misfiled things and I've been able to find them. Similar to what you did with your box in the closet. Similarly,
Right. Yeah.
it's like, well, where is it? Where would it have gone?
Exactly. I'm sorry. I am listening to you. I pulled three
That's okay.
cards.
I
Um,
have 3 on my deck, but I didn't look at them yet. Go ahead.
um, so I pulled some cards from the Whispers of Lord Ganesha.
Mm-hmm.
I just adore this deck. I mean, Ganesha is like, I don't know, there's something about him that's so dear to me.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I pulled three cards. The first one is called Perseverance,
Oh, that's pretty.
and it says you are likely to see financial or other tangible rewards for all of your hard work.
Nice.
There will be an ending to a difficult period of financial or material struggle. Hallelujah. Ah, and
Well,
then
you're at the
this,
end of one phase and the beginning of a new, so that makes sense.
absolutely. So then the second one is clear your energy, and it says move through your fears to bring on change. Ask Ganesha to walk alongside you and show you what you would benefit from clearing away. So, super interesting. I know this is talking about energy, but I've been doing a lot of clearing away of stuff,
True.
of like, because I am bringing all of the inventory from the shop home, finding places for it. We've switched around some furniture, which has made me really happy. And we've been like taking this furniture just out in front of the house on the curb, and people have been coming and taking it, which is so cool
It's
that
rewarding
people
because they use it, you know.
exactly. I just hate throwing perfectly good stuff away, but I know it doesn't work for me,
Hmm.
right? So we've been doing a lot of clearing energy through clearing stuff. I have boxes of stuff I want to take to donate that have been in my house for 20 something years. And like, for whatever reason, I'm not resonating with them anymore. And the funny thing is, some of them are horse related things, not personal horse things, things that people have in the very distant past, had bought me thinking that they were amazing, and I'm just not feeling it. So
Right.
I'm
So it's a point in
clearing
time.
it.
Yeah. And somebody else will find that to be a treasure and they'll keep it and they'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. Okay, so the third card, these are just so gorgeous. It's sustenance.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the nourishment that life can give you. Um, ooh, you are in a time of abundance where there is more than enough to support and nourish your desires. Ganesha encourages you to appreciate all the blessing, treats, gifts, friendships, and love surrounding you now. Nourishing your soul can mean finding interesting, exciting, and stimulating ways to experience life. This is a time to learn, grow, and change. It can also mean that refusing to create, experience, and grow can be detrimental to you. Only you can truly know what your soul desires. It is essential to find ways to understand and do something about your needs. This means listening to your inner dreams, hopes, and wishes. On occasion, it may mean acting in ways contrary to what others expect or hope from you.
Well, that's very
Holy,
apropos.
right?
Yeah.
So there you have it.
So I pulled some cards. Those are great cards, and I think that they totally applied. So I pulled some cards with the intention of for the podcast, and let's just see if they worked or not. I'm not 100% sure or how they will apply. And I used a mystical wisdom deck, which I like a lot. I just like all the artwork on it.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
pretty.
the first one I had, which would have been a past, present, future, is about competition. And of course, there's a beautiful tiger on there, but it says summon courage and self confidence, which I like. So I think that more resonates with me than competition resonates with me because I really don't like competition, but I'd rather not. Um, but summon courage and self confidence. And I think that's something that everyone can do, you know, right now. So I think that would apply there. The second card, which is the now card, is Archangel Gabrielle. And it's a beautiful card of angels, you know, with all kinds of children with her. Her. And it says, messenger of creativity and hope. So I love the message of being creative and I love the message of instilling hope because it is trying times right now for so many people and on the collective level. So I think it's important to stay positive and to have that hope. And then this card came up, which is a phoenix, and it says new beginnings. And how great is that? That also works with what you're doing. It also, I want to share that with the podcast viewers. And I
Yeah.
think on some level for myself too, I like that idea too, because it's always embracing new things that we're doing. And it says, begin your new life. So, and I love the picture of that
Yeah.
has that colorful phoenix. So, again, some similarities that will run through. And I was picking this as we were turning on these cards that came up. So, yes,
So
self confidence, hope, and new beginnings.
I think there are a lot of people, Lisa, that need those cards. They need the confidence to listen to what's happening within them.
Mhm.
They need to have the hope that, you know, things are better. They can be better. They will be better. And the new beginnings are, you actually have to step into it. I was
Yeah.
chatting with a neighbor yesterday, and well, we were moving stuff out to the curb. And um he's a nice guy. We've lived next door to each other for like 16 years. I don't know him well. I mean, we chat, but that's about it. So he comes over and he's like, this is like the first time I've seen you and your husband together like at the same time. And I'm like, yeah. And I explained what was going on. And he's like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, this is so exciting.
It
it's
is.
it's so exciting. And most people, when I tell them that I've closed my physical business, the first thing is like, oh no, let's celebrate.
Yeah.
But in chatting with him, he told me that he just resigned from his job because it was no longer serving him.
Hmm.
And I'm like, there's change happening everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm surrounded by so much change, and we can either embrace it as something exciting, or we can fear what's to come.
Yeah, and the fear is only because they have no idea, and it's a little bit of a, of the unknown. But if you have that faith and that hope, it makes it so much easier to follow your instincts through that.
Yeah.
And my family had I worked, of course, in the corporate environment, but my family had a restaurant up in New Jersey for a couple decades, and they lost it during the recession. But I have to say that it was a gift within that to do that, because it was starting over. It was taking something that was draining you, allowing it to have its burial, its funeral, its ending,
Yep.
its memorial.
Yep.
And then you have again that newness. You do eat the next day. You do have a roof over yourself. So you have to look at what your basic needs are. You have to kind of like regroup what is a need and what is a want, to kind of like reevaluate that.
Yep.
And I think our priorities change over the years, as to what it is that we need and what we want, and then our desires and new beginnings. And what we were saying in a previous podcast is that we've had many lifetimes in this lifetime, because there's different phases of our life where we may need that physical store. And now you can go with something that's a little bit less tangible.
Exactly. And it's not to say that all change is easy. Change,
Oh, no, it's not
it,
easy.
it's not, and we're not trying to say that it is, but it's change is constant. It is a
That's
constant
one
thing.
thing that is constant. We will always change. You will never have a day like today tomorrow.
Yep. And it is, I think it's important to look for the opportunities when we've heard this how many times: when one door closes, another door opens. It's kind of true.
Mhm.
And sometimes we
Yeah.
have to clear out the stuff that we have in order to make room for whatever the new is. So,
So, in looking back at the beginning of this podcast, when we're talking about finding things, whether
yep.
you're finding an object or you're finding your way, it's
Yep.
important to stay positive, hopeful, and focus in on that intuition. Michelle shared with us a new technique that I didn't hear of before, with that muscle, what do you call it?
Muscle testing.
Muscle testing.
Yep.
But yet, thinking back, I think different doctors have done it to me. Ayurvedic doctors have done it, muscle testing. And I'm like, how
Exactly,
do
they
you
would.
do
Yep.
that?
Yep.
So, there's a whole array of things that I'm sure we haven't heard of that are available to us. And if we
Mhm.
just follow that hopeful space, make yourself calm, quiet, and just listen, you're going to find your way. You ask the questions to your spirit guides, to your angels, to your loved ones, and see what comes up.
Yep. They're way more chatty than you think they are. You just have to
Oh,
dial
yes.
in.
Quiet that mind.
Yep. So I want to say, we were talking about finding physical objects, and if you're at a point where you're not really sure like how to go about really tapping into your inner wisdom for big life changes, see if you can start working with finding lost objects.
Yeah, little things. Like
Little
even the
things.
start with little things. Oh, how
Yep.
can I what kind of coffee do I want today? Or
Yeah.
even, as I said, watching a game show on TV, try and find the answer just by
Yep.
intuition.
Yep. Those little games
Hmm.
really work well with developing your intuition. All you have to do is listen, and there's like those, that's low stakes kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So you play with the low stakes kind of stuff. By the time you're really listening then to your intuition with bigger life decisions and changes, then you're really confident that
right.
that
Because you've
guidance
already
is
developed that
good.
dialogue.
Yep. Yep.
It's learning a language.
It is.
Hmm. But it's one that's constant and universal. So that's the one language that doesn't matter where you live.
Is it really constant though?
Yeah, it's always there. It is the constant I'm not, meaning that spirit always spoke to me the same way. I listened differently.
Okay.
So that's how I relate to that. It's always there
Okay.
for you. It's always available for you. But are we at that vibration where we can hear it?
Okay. So I interpreted that word differently than you intended it.
Okay.
Yep. All good.
All good.
All right. This has been an awesome conversation, Lisa.
I really enjoyed it as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
So, till next time.
Leave us some comments. We'll talk to you
Please
soon.
do. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you about your experiences. Leave us a comment below. You can find more information about Lisa and her offerings on her website, 2communicate.net. Michelle's shop is the Violet Butterfly Metaphysical Healing Center in Palm Harbor, Florida. You can find more information at thevioletbutterflymhc.com, including the online store.